to come on stage to give us a lecture on creating local solutions to global problems, a case study of hydrate research in Nigeria, Dr. Toyin Otudola. She is a senior lecturer at the Department of Petroleum and Gas Engineering, University of Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. She is a designer and a fabricator of the first hydrate flow loop in Nigeria. Now, her invention, the hydrate flow loop, sparked off hydrate research in Nigeria. The loop has been used by students all over Nigeria and some neighboring African countries. She has 2 patents on her flow assurance inventions. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we make welcome our last lecture for today, Dr. Toyin Otudola. Odutola, our last lecturer for today. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chairman, and good afternoon, professors. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. We'll be talking about creating local solutions to global problems. And I'll be talking about how we started the hydrate research here in Nigeria and how the hydrate research has grown and the impact the research is making in Nigeria and around the world. So I have been introduced. So this is the objective of the presentation. At the end of this presentation, I want us to know that it is possible to have homegrown research that addresses local and global challenges, because I'll be sharing with you how we started here and how we've been able to move it to positions where people are talking about us all over the world. Here's my presentation outline. There will be introduction. I'll talk to you a little about what hydrate is so that you understand when I start showing you the equipment we designed and fabricated. Then I will talk about steps to innovation, because we are all thinking of how we can innovate and produce something like this or something better. Then on that steps to innovation, I'll be talking to you about identifying the problem, solving the problem, improving the product, because you need to keep improving your product when you have designed one. And I'll be showing you our improved products. We did an animation of the loop. I'll be showing it to you, and then I'll conclude. So far, our online audience have not been included in all our activities here. We've been doing it here, going around talking. So I made this activity inclusive to everybody. So I would like you to just go to this link here and type in the word that best describes the most important part of this workshop. We'll be talking about patents, entrepreneurship. What do you think? Just one word. So I'm giving us 2 minutes to do that, please. It's just like an icebreaker session, please. So just go to the link, type on your phone in the browser, bit.ly/ACE-PUTOR1. If you have any issues with it, let me know, please. Yes, it's case sensitive. So all capital, please. For those online, I've shared the link with you. So for us here, please just type in your browser. Okay. Are you able to get there, sir? 1. Okay. ACE-PUTOR 1. Okay, I take it back. Is anybody in? Okay, so just one word, please. Okay, so I'm seeing patenting. Patenting is growing. Many people feel that's the most salient part of this research, this workshop. Commercialization, informative. Okay, the research has provided us with a lot of information. I'm seeing patents. So yes, people have talked about a lot of, I think what a lot of people feel is the most salient part of this workshop so far is that we can patent our work, we can protect our intellectual property. Fantastic. Thank you for participating. So now we will now talk about what I did. I can share this slide after now so that you all see what you felt was the most salient part of the workshop by the second day. Okay. Okay, so I have to describe Hydrate in a very simple term because I remember Professor Etela, when he was talking to us, he said, if we write a grant and we put our executive summary in a very complex manner that nobody understands, nobody will even read it, or when they read it, they'll just throw it away that I don't understand it. So I know this is a mixed crowd. So I'll talk about Hydrate in terms that you will understand, because I believe we are not all petroleum engineers. Now, let me relate it to health. I know most times the doctors tell us to eat clean, you know, we don't want our arteries plugged so that we don't have heart attack. You know, you have to keep your arteries clean, don't take too much of fatty food. So that's how it is for us in petroleum engineering. The production lines are like the arteries that connects the well to the end user, which is maybe your sales point or where the crude is being refined. So when your production line gets plugged, then you're going to have a big problem on your production system. So you want to keep the production line open at all times. So just the way you try to regulate your eating so that you do not have heart problems, same happens in the petroleum industry. You have to regulate how you produce your fluid so that you're not having hydrate problems. And hydrate usually forms when the crude oil is in a cold environment, which is what we usually see in offshore environment. That is cold environment, okay? And why we try to study hydrates, why I was interested in the problem is because of things it causes, which includes reduction in the pipeline. The pipeline keeps reducing in size. It was formerly maybe 4 inches, is reducing. Now it's so small, it's 2 inches in the internal diameter, and you cannot produce as much, okay? Then plugged lines, like what we can see over here. I don't know, because it's not moving. Okay, so plugged lines, and when there's a plug, you eventually cannot produce, and you start having production downtime. And when you're even trying to remove the hydrate, there are times that if you do not remove it properly, it can act as a projectile and kill your personnel on the field. So it's really a big challenge that needs to be managed. And these are some of the methods that have been used in managing hydrates in the past. So I now decided that, okay, let me put this slide here, which is steps to innovation. So for you to start thinking of what to innovate, you need to research and identify a problem, which was what I did. I researched, I identified a problem. Then I thought of how to solve the problem. What's the best way to solve this problem that I have found? Because I know that hydrate is really a problem in the industry, okay? Then I also shared ideas. We've talked a lot about sharing, collaborating. So I'll show you how I shared with some of my colleagues. I shared with industry personnel, and that also helped to improve my product, okay? And then be flexible and be ready to implement useful feedback. So people will give you feedback. I know some of the feedback might not be useful, but the ones that you know are useful, be ready to implement it in spite of who the feedback is coming from. At times, those useful feedback may come from your students, okay? Then think of always improving your product. Don't stop at version 1. You have done the first one, look forward to do bigger things. Now, the hydrate research for me started when I was doing my master's degree in Abuja. And okay, so I was in a class, a production engineering class, and the lecturer was teaching, and he talked about hydrates forming in pipes. You know, I got interested, and then I asked a question. He said, that's a very good question, and maybe you should research on it. And I said, okay. So after the class, I met him. I told him I would like to research on it. My question was, can hydrates store gas? Although he was talking about flow assurance, but I wanted to know if hydrates can be used in storing gas. And he said, yes, and he even gave me a book to read on it. And then weeks after, we had offshore technology class, which was being taught by a Nigerian. The other course was taught by a Brazilian. Okay, so offshore technology was being taught by someone from Total. So I met him, I told him, okay, this is what I'm planning to do. And he told me, well, in Nigeria right now, these are the problems we are having. We are having hydrates as flow assurance problems. So he doesn't think I should look towards hydrates, gas storage in hydrate form. Okay, so I had already started consulting and I decided, okay, let me move to hydrates in flow assurance. Okay. Okay, so at that point in time, the oil industry was doing a lot of offshore exploration and production. That means they were producing not on land, but on sea, especially because the activity of vandals had increased and they were trying to move to places where there's where the vandals do not have easy access to the pipeline. So, and when they were producing offshore, they were also having problems because they were producing in very cold environment and hydrate formation was occurring. Now, Professor Ajenka talked about the triple helix system that has been running here in IPS. The year after, when I graduated from AUST, I came here to start my PhD, okay? And the director then got a list of problems from the industry. Professor Oyinkan, we told industry professionals, give us problems, our PhD will solve it. We're the first set of PhDs. So when we were coming in after the admission, they handed us this list of problems and they said, choose one. So that was how I ended up with the hydrate research problem to solve. Now, the problem again is it was new. There was little or no data about hydrate research in Nigeria at that time. And we didn't have an available equipment. Okay, and the company which was interested in the problem was actually willing to pay for an equipment, but the equipment had a lot of limitations. Prior to about the time I started the program, I had gone for a training at Colorado School of Mines Center for Hydrate Research. So I saw some hydrate equipment. I knew what the company was going to give to us could not do as much as those equipment were going to do. So we had to, Prof had to write back to the school and said, this equipment is not enough for us. And the people got very angry and they said, stop disturbing us. That equipment is from a PhD student. So at that point in time, Prof told me, Professor Oyenko told me, you're not going to graduate until you design your own equipment and use it for your own PhD. So that was how the challenge started. Very stressful. Okay, I'm going to leave this activity till the end because I know some of us are hungry, or would we like to do it? Okay, I was just trying to make sure that the online audience will be involved. Okay, now what we just established is how I found the problem to solve. I would like you to find your faculty in this sheet, maybe after now. I can leave it active until the end of the workshop. So find your faculty on this sheet and think of local problems here in University of Port Harcourt that you think you can give to your students. People talked about, Professor Ajenka talked about gene, that most times we tell our students to compare how the local gene is being made, but we've not made our own gene here in the University of Port Harcourt. He also talked about the refinery we haven't done. I see a lot of plastics being thrown around. When I was a student, we did this student convention, Waste to Wealth. There were so many presentations, yet we are still throwing plastics around. Can your department solve some of these problems? Start thinking of the problems, okay? So what did I do after I found my problem? I had to research. I found books. I found journals. And I had to study and study. And then I also had to look at universities that were conducting similar research. Then another thing I did was to talk to people. And then I also looked at existing models. Towards the end of the slideshow, you will see some hydrate loops that are existing, and then you compare to what we have here in Nigeria and see how we are doing. Okay, so talking to people helped, because, and again, being in this kind of environment also helped, because being in IPS, I was exposed to a lot of industry people. I was here, Prof gave me an office as a research assistant. So I was meeting people and talking to them about my problem. This is what I'm trying to solve. Okay, it was somebody who came to teach a course that showed me how it could be done. He gave me a paper that gave me an idea that this is actually possible. Because initially I was saying, am I going to put water in a room and put the pipeline, or what am I going to do? So these are some of the equipment that exists in established centers for gas hydrate research. So this is Harcourt University Center. I know Prof has been talking about clusters, research clusters. They've been studying hydrate since 1986, but Colorado School of Mines has done their own research on hydrate since 1975. When I even went there, I remember seeing the authors of books that I have read, and I was very excited. I told them, I've read your book. They were like, wow, you know, so getting to know what these people were doing also helped me. Like this equipment here is just glass. I think it was being used by a PhD. He called it jamming equipment. And all he did was put glass beads inside to try to see how hydrate agglomeration happens. Simple setups. And they were using it and producing great results. Okay, so I had to solve my own problem by thinking of how to design and fabricate my own hydrate loop. So this was the design I had. Actually, this is not the first design. First design came, it was crappy. We had to change a lot of things until we eventually arrived at this, okay? And I had to take it to a company somewhere in Port Harcourt, which did the fabrication. And you can see that what I had there initially was a cooler, which never worked because I needed temperatures, very cold temperatures, but in less than how many, maybe 10 minutes, the ice would have melted and, you know, it becomes completely useless. So I had to think of other things I could do to make this work. I had pressure gauges and temperature gauges here. At this point, we're already connecting the control panel so that we could control the loop from a central point. So then we changed the cooler to a refrigerating unit, and eventually we brought it here to the University of Port Harcourt and installed it. Yet we still had problems. So the thing is, start first because there will be problems. The loop was leaking. Again, when you see the final picture, excuse me, this is not how it looks presently because we had to modify a lot of things. We noticed that there was a lot of temperature impact from the environment. We are in a very warm environment, so the heat from the environment was affecting the process, and we're never forming hydrates. So we had to insulate again until we got to this, and eventually this is what the loop looks like presently. Okay. So now, another point in getting your innovation or invention is that you should share your research. The reason I'm here is because maybe some people knew about the research because I shared it, I spoke about it. If we keep quiet about what we do, then people will assume we are not doing anything. So one thing I did was to get a patent. Professor Ajenka told me, get a patent. So I had to go get the patent. Okay, so let me say here that in my own case, I'd already done some publication before the patent. And I remember being told you might not get it. I said, well, let me try. I didn't know I was not meant to publish, but I had just published some results results, but not what I got the patent on was the invention, the equipment. So I had not published on the equipment at that time. So I went to the patent office and applied. They sent my work back to me, that it wasn't properly documented, but they also sent a guide. So they gave me, I think, about 2 or 3 papers, 2 or 3 patents that were similar to my work to guide me to draft the next one. So I was able to draft the next one properly. Okay, share your work in high impact journal. I know there was some discussion on impact of journals yesterday. One of the things Professor Oyeko did, which then I was not happy about, but when I look back, I'm very happy. He told me he doesn't believe, well, it's not like he didn't believe the work, but he felt I have to publish in an Elsevier journal before I graduate. You know, I sweated and I was like, why? By then I had done SP conferences, you know, I had spoken about it in conference. He said, Elsevier, it must be Elsevier. Go and look at where the best in hydrate research are publishing and publish in that journal. So I had to search, and I saw that some scholars in Colorado School of Mines had published in Natural Gas Engineering and Elsevier journal. I sent the paper. Of course, they sent it back with a lot of, I think it was even rejection, and they gave their reasons. So I sat down, it properly, you know, and the next time I sent it, it stayed there for, was it 6 months? And eventually I got it. I was very excited. I went to tell Prof, I got the Elsevier. He couldn't believe it too. You know, he was also surprised. And there was even a particular workshop, someone was speaking and he said, all this equipment people are designing here, that is why your papers will never be accepted in high impact journals like Elsevier. When he finished, after the workshop, I went to meet him. I said, Prof, my paper was accepted and the equipment here that I designed, that's the output I shared in Elsevier. I was like, wow, you know, he was really shocked. So another thing you should do is industry professionals. You need to share your work with them. Professional bodies that you belong to. Let them know what you're doing. Colleagues in the university. So I talk about the problems I was having. There was a day I was speaking to Professor Briggs, mechatronics department. Then I had a low pressure cylinder, which I attached to the equipment, and the gas never stayed. In less than 2 days, we've run out of gas. We have to start going again to get gas. So I spoke to I was just talking to Professor Briggs, and he said, oh, I have a high pressure cylinder in my lab. Come and take it. And that was how I went. I got my students. We carried the equipment, the cylinder, and the research became a lot easier for us. Also, share your research with students. I know we just talked about undergraduates, how we don't try to patent their work. In developing this, then I had just gotten the job in university in 2014. Most of the research I did, most of the experiments were done by undergraduates. Why I even loved involving them in it was because they were just coming back from IT. They had seen the industry, they had seen a few things. They would come up with ideas, you know, they'll say, oh, why don't we change this? Why don't we do this? You know, and it went well. I remember one of my students posting recently on LinkedIn after the BBC interview I had. He said he remembers the research in 2016, you know, how they were feeling, what is she doing? I remember some students were even like, they want to run away. They were not sure of what the research was about. He said he still remembers how it was uncertain, and he's very happy that it has grown this far. So, okay, we will be hearing about how to do our patents tomorrow, I believe. But basically what they need is just your abstract. You describe your entire process in a very short paragraph. Then your technical field, background of invention, details of your invention and your claims. What will your invention do? Okay, in sharing again, I shared to the Nigerian Society of Engineers. They came over here, they came over to the lab to see the equipment. And of course, they gave good feedback. And another thing we were doing here in IPS was that we had regular research meetings. So we're having research meetings before the funders come. And then we will also present to our funders. I think the meeting with the funders was quarterly, and the research was being funded by Total Energies. So they visited, the picture here, they visited, and I was presenting to them what we had done. So these are the sponsors of the research. Now, I talked about innovation. In your innovation, you should think of improving. Don't stop at where you are. You will see right now, I know the loop has a lot of limitations, but I'm happy that it's able to do what it's doing. This was since 2014, and the loop is still being used till date. So we are thinking of a second version. Professor Oyenkon, who told me before about the time he was going to retire, he said, we have not commercialized this work. We need to commercialize it. So he made me, I went over to his office and I did a presentation to the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure. So this is about collaborating again. And we are hoping that the second version of the loop will be a lot better than what we have presently. So I'm going to show you some existing flow loops from different parts of the world. And then when you look at the picture, I would also like you to say, I would like you to assess if what we have looks a little like it, or looks better, or looks terrible. You know, most times when it's coming from Africa, we just feel, oh, it's never work. But things have changed. I'm very amazed when I get some messages on LinkedIn. There was somebody that had sent me an email. I didn't respond, so he looked for me on LinkedIn and sent me a message. He wanted to know a particular parameter I used in the loop design. So I searched for the paper and I sent it to him. I told him to read. So later I just sent him a message. I think it's from Malaysia. I said, how did he go? He said, fine. And then he says he's looking for that. Can he come and do his PhD with me? That is that am I taking PhDs? It sounded funny to me. I was like, really? And that was then someone else also sent me a message that am I taking PhDs? And recently, someone from I think University of Aberdeen, this is a Nigerian, sent me a message on LinkedIn, and he even shared with me a paper that he wrote. He said he has been citing my work, and that when he comes to Nigeria, he would like to visit the lab. I said, okay. He asked if what university, of course, he knew it was University of Port Harcourt. He asked where. I told him PTDF building. You can come and I'll show you the equipment. Okay, so now this is University of Tulsa. Now, I know Tulsa's research is high up there because their own loops are even larger in diameter, not as mine is just 0.5, but their loops are designed to look like what you will see in the industry. And this is a university in China, Shangzhou University. So this is what they have. I don't know if that's, okay, this is what they have in Shangzhou University. And this is Australia's first hydrate flow loop. Just like I'm going to show you Nigeria's first hydrate flow loop. So what do you think? Is it really different or looks like it? Thank you. Okay, so I did an animation of the loop and I would like you to view it. Okay, so it's going to play from.
To prevent hydrate formation and assure flow.
It can.
The mini hydrate flow.
Oh,
By studying hydrate formation
you're not seeing my
in
screen.
gas-dominated systems using a constant body of batch experiment. The laboratory will
Let me share the text.
Share the text.
The peculiar nature of the offshore environment has necessitated the need for the oil and gas industry to develop durable subsea technologies and better hydrate inhibitors to prevent hydrate formation and assure flow. With the introduction of the mini hydrate flow loop, these problems can be tackled by studying hydrate formation in gas-dominated systems using a constant volume batch experiment. The laboratory loop is a closed loop of 12 meters, fabricated using 0.5H 316 stainless steel pipe enclosed in an insulated 4-inch polyvinyl chloride (PVC) pipe. The hydrate loop mimics offshore production in the subsea environment. The steel pipe enclosed in the PVC pipe containing cold water represents the flow line on the seabed, surrounded by cold water. The skid-mounted loop was fitted with pumps, temperature gauges, pressure gauges, differential pressure transmitters, a gas mixing vessel, an inhibitor mixing vessel, and a natural gas cylinder. The experiment starts by pumping 435 milliliters water into the steel pipe to raise the loop pressure to about 25 psi using pump 3. The cooling water generated from the refrigerator is then pumped around the annulus of the steel pipe and the PVC pipe using pump 2 to progressively reduce the loop temperature to hydrate formation temperature. Natural gas is injected into the loop to achieve a pressure of 150 psi as a single batch. The screw pump is turned on to cause agitation in the flow line. The temperature and pressure around the loop are recorded every minute during the 2 hours experiment. Hydrate formation rapid decrease in the final loop pressure caused by the natural gas being used up to form hydrates. 4. An increase in the differential pressure between the inlet and outlet of the refrigerating unit due to hydrate crystals forming around the inner pipe walls. When testing hydrate inhibitors, the inhibitor is mixed with water and pumped into the loop to make up the 435 milliliters. The gas is injected to increase the loop pressure to 150 psi, and the cooling water is circulated around the loop. Inhibitor effectiveness is indicated by 1. No reduction in flow viewed from the glass flow meter. 2. No spontaneous rise in loop temperature due to the absence of the hydrate formation exothermic reaction. 3. No significant drop in the final loop pressure because the inhibitor prevented the hydrate formation reaction between the gas and water. 4. No significant change in the differential pressure between the inlet and outlet of the refrigerating because the inhibitor effectively prevented hydrate formation in the pipe walls. The mini hydrate loop can adequately predict hydrate formation in gas pipelines and can be used in screening and selecting kinetic hydrate inhibitors.
Okay, so that's the loop animation that was made recently. Now, modified starch. He worked with someone in chemistry. He's muted. Abi? Okay. Okay, and we've also used this to train a lot of people. We've had people coming in from neighboring universities. While I was still doing the PhD, someone came in from UST to run his hydrate research here. I think while I was even still here as a research assistant, someone came from NDU. He has completed his MSc. He sent me a message on LinkedIn that he wants to come over for a PhD. I said, okay. He did his MSc in AUST. So he was an undergraduate when he came here. He read about the equipment and came to see if we had commissioned it and if it was working. Okay, so we've had a lot of PhD and MSc students coming in from other universities to use the equipment. I know someone came in from UI recently to use the equipment, and people are coming up with different equipment equipment in the department now. Last time I entered the lab, I saw a lot of things. And we've also have, I can say, global recognition. A BBC journalist reached me and he said he wants to come and see the equipment. I thought it was a joke initially until he came. You know, that was when I realized that this is real. So, and he featured the interview on Channels TV and is now on BBC website. We've also had, okay, so I talked about foreign students that have been reaching me and they said, well, come and do a PhD. I just laugh about it, but I think I should take it seriously one of these days and maybe get a grant that can fund so that I can pay them as postgraduate students. Okay, what I've also been doing is machine learning now. Some of the data we've gathered, I've given it to some very smart petroleum engineering students that they should run some machine learning models on it. Because from what I understand that Colorado School of Mines did, they gathered their data for a couple of years and then they started using it to produce software. When I went there, there was a particular software they were testing. So in my own head, when they tell us put this, I'll put that, later I'll put higher values. I'll tell them there's a bug, oh, this thing is not working. And one of them was so impressed. He was like, so you come back here for a PhD. But eventually I did my PhD here and I'm happy I did. Okay, then we've also had the monograph from the research. So this is one of the equipment that is springing up in the department that I did for wax testing. And because we talked about startups that we are getting from Hydrate Research, I know the Colorado School of Mines Center works as a company, even the one at Harcourt Watts. So, but when I was in MIT in 2020, unfortunately, I couldn't go to the Hydrate lab that was being run by Professor Varanasi because of COVID. He had already agreed. He teaches fluid mechanics, which was one of the courses I was auditing. He had already agreed that we should come, myself and my colleague. But the week we were meant to go, that was where they shut down the university. So they wrote us and they said we shouldn't come again. But these are some of the startups from the Hydrate research that he's doing at MIT. So what are the learning points? What they've done there, we can do it here. And we can even do better. So what we see there, the only reason we feel like, oh, they are doing it so well is because they've had more opportunity to practice. If we start giving ourselves opportunity to practice, we learn from our mistakes, we document things, we'll start getting better at our own craft too. Now, we should be facilitators and we should ensure critical thinking in our class. This whole thing started because of Professor Prado's class, because I asked a question and he said, oh, yes, you can do that. That was why I decided, okay, let me continue with this. How do we teach? Do we just teach what we have been teaching over how many years, or we bring in some of our research or things that are new into the classroom? We should bring in our research into the classroom, talk to them about some of your new findings. It will spark off some creative ideas in the students that they can use to do much more. Don't be content with the promotion that comes with publication from whatever innovation. It's not just the publications you should look out for. In that first slide, I'm very glad that most of us were choosing patents, but some people also said commercialize. So you need to go beyond patenting to start thinking of making money. I haven't gotten to that stage yet, but I hope I will soon. Then publicize your research, talk about it. I'm very glad that I joined OWSD. I was telling Professor Choma, I see the way they talk about everything they do, you know. So initially I used to be quiet, I'll just keep quiet. But when they talk, you see women talking about fantastic things they are doing. You know, I decided, oh, let me start talking too. So I started posting. I started posting, even if it's something very little, I'll post it. And it's opening up doors. Okay, so I said develop a growth mindset in your research. You do something, you keep learning and you get better at it. So I said develop research through regular practice, documenting the process and consistently improving on products. Now, MIT, which many people have talked about here, They stand out because there's something I read about there. It said MIT stands out with its relentless focus on hands-on education, which is summarized by its motto, mind and hand. So they are not just training your mind, they are training the mind and hand. So there's a lot of practice there, which I hope that we will start imbibing here in Nigeria. So in conclusion, creating globally relevant research using indigenous technology and local material is possible, you know, and I'm saying that we should now patent, publish, and speak about our research on platforms that matter. I forgot to add that you should commercialize your research too. Thank you very much. And I would like you to leave me a feedback, please. That's the link for the feedback. I like gathering feedbacks. So just put the link, get the link and give me feedback. Thank you. And I'll go back to that other activity so that you see the link, or the slide will be shared. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be entertaining questions at this point. I was going to say 3 questions, but I think we can accommodate more than 3 questions. But please, questions should be short, concise, straight to the point, so we can accommodate so many other persons. So questions? Yes, sir. Sir, please, we have people online. They would like to hear you.
The idea of having a list of industry-generated questions to be researched upon, that is very important. And this best practice should be shared with the other faculties and departments. Industry-generated problems. And that should guide our research. And I also like the fact that when you are asked not to be in a hurry to complete your PhD, you didn't take it personal. Because a lot of us are just interested in hurriedly getting a PhD that probably will be good enough for lecturing and nothing more. And I'm sure that even without your university employment, you will make a lot of money for your PhD research, and that is how it should be. So I'm not sure that is a question, but perhaps to commend what you have done, and of course the process that brought you up and encouraged you. We must learn from them. We must learn from them. Because I've seen a lot of research that's not good enough.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions?
All right, thank you. Mine is more of a comment than a question. During your presentation, I heard you mention inhibitors. So I'm just wondering, for those of us in biochemistry and toxicology, we do a lot with enzymes. We talk about inhibition, reactions, and all that a lot. So I don't know the chemicals that you're actually using as your inhibitor substance, whether they are actually safe or toxic to the environment. But in biochemistry, I know we can also generate some inhibitors from some enzymatic reactions. So I don't know whether you're also thinking about that so that we can actually collaborate to see how well we can do that. Instead of using chemicals, we can also do something that are natural and will be less toxic to the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. The inhibitors we used are polymers. The inhibitors I used are polymers, and ethanol, methanol, those were the things I used. But the research has gone beyond that. I know some other PhDs have started using agricultural waste to prevent hydrate formation. And yes, we are open to collaboration with you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. You know, you said your research was problems from the industry. Like we that are in medicine, where will we generate our own research? From which industry? Or, we are all learning so that we know where to generate, is it on, you said industry. I'm also trying to look at where do we generate our own problem? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that question. Okay, so I know I was speaking to a doctor recently. My son was ill, and he was talking about how they don't allow us use what's it called, antibiotics, that if you go abroad they'll have to wait for a while, but here he feels the system is different. He feels our body is different, and they should let the children use the antibiotics. Not that they'll let the child suffer until the child is so weak, that's why you're giving the antibiotics. He now told me that he feels we are not publishing enough. We've not put our data out there. So I don't know if that's enough from the industry, but I believe when you speak to doctors and know what they are doing and where they feel there's a problem, because what I got from that is that he feels there should be a research on the use of antibiotics and how it should be administered here. He feels what they are reporting in the Western world does not apply to us because our climate is different. Again, there was even also COVID, which didn't affect us that much here. That's a problem we should look at and try to understand in medical field. What was different about us? I don't know if that's a problem. Okay, so those are some of the things you can look at in your field and try to solve.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Toyin. The first thing is the question. Were you sponsored for this research first? And then from there, one of the major problems we have in achieving significant research is actually sponsor. A lot of heights could have been achieved in our researches, but sponsorship for PhDs or masters, surely those of us from medical sciences, a lot of things are very, very expensive, but for you to place somebody on a research like that requires a huge amount of money. So, and that's, I don't know if the university can place some grants in some departments, specifically for such kind of research. Because I was just looking at you traveling from Nigeria to all these countries to see what they have. How were you able to fund yourself? I remember when I was doing my own PhD, I wanted to travel to SA to get just sponsorship to go there and use their equipment was a problem. I know what I went through. So if such kind of sponsorship can just be extended to departments like ours, we'll be very grateful if the university will consider that. Thank you.
For the university, yes. So I guess the DVC R&D, whatever, you should just get the message on. You've done your own share, or you want to share with them how you got the money, or that's confidential. That would be up to you if you want to share with them. Yeah. So no, not sharing the money, but no, she's not going to share any money with anybody. Yeah, but yeah, if you want me to emphasize on how you got the grants to travel to Colorado and to Tulsa and all this kind of stuff, that would be nice. But globally, universities don't give individuals money to run around. The individuals look for money, okay, through their ideas. Then it's going to go to the faculty. The university will give a percentage to the faculty, and then the university will take a major portion of the money. My professor of biochemistry discovered abacavir, and then when he discovered abacavir, he sold abacavir, which is an antiretroviral drug, to a company called GlaxoSmithKline, because like to be called academics. So at the time, he sold the drug for $90 million. Okay, then GlaxoSmithKline bought over the drug. So now it's owned by GlaxoSmithKline. So what the university did, University of Minnesota did, was they took 60 million out of the 90 million that this is for the university, because we provided that platform for you and your students to experiment on all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the faculty, which was the College of Pharmacy that Professor Vince belonged to, I think took 15 million out of the remaining 30. Then we said, okay, Professor Vince and your colleagues, now you have 15 million to hire more people, play with things and all that, and discover more things, so that the university can also benefit. Exactly. So that's the way these things work globally. It's not a university going to give the individuals money A, B, C, D. Yes, it doesn't work that way. Yes, because you are under the umbrella of the university. So the university they have to find a way to gain from your knowledge, and you also at the same time will gain from what you're doing in the university. So I just wanted to make that clear. That way you don't walk around thinking that universities are handing out checks. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
By the way, on the other side, you said Tulsa is way up there. Okay, Tulsa may be way up there in terms of the University of Tulsa, but I'd rather be in Port Harcourt than Tulsa. I don't know you've been to Tulsa. Okay, you've not been to Tulsa. There is nothing in Tulsa more than University of Tulsa. Okay, so I'd rather be here in University of Port Harcourt, where things are in Port Harcourt City, where things are more vibrant and things of that sort. The only two things I saw in Tulsa when I went to Tulsa, the university, and there's a group called Gap Band. You're probably too young to remember the group called Gap Band. And they're all old now, and they're not even playing music anymore. Yeah, when I was young in secondary school, we used to have a group called Gap Band. Okay, so you look it up. Say hoops upside the head, say hoops upside the head. That's by Gap Band. Yes.
Thank you, Prof.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Shall I speak on? Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Toyin, for the wonderful presentation, and of course, even for the invention. I have just a few questions for you. And of course, based on what Prof just mentioned now, globally, the practice is you have intellectual property policy, which guides how income from patents and commercialized inventions are actually distributed in the university. So typically, we expect American university to have that kind of initiative. But the question that I just have for you in particular is to look at, did you consult patent document in the course of your research? That's the first one. Second, the technicians that were involved in the process of developing the technology, were they from the university, or they are the maybe roadside technicians that you use? Next to that, how would you rate the engineering capability within your university, or typically in the country, in terms of the ability to actually meet your demand in the course of developing your technology? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caleb, for your question. So about consulting patent documents while developing the technology. While developing the technology, no, I don't think I consulted any patent document, but I mentioned that when I was trying to patent the equipment, I was giving, after my first draft, I was giving some samples of related patents so that I could draft my claims properly. So that was when I was able to get the patent from the patent office. Then the technicians that were involved in designing this were not from the university. and they are from a company here somewhere in Port Harcourt. And I think, how would I rate engineering capabilities in the country in terms of ability to support mass production of technology? I think for us in petroleum engineering, we are doing very well. We are doing very well. That's what I know, because there's this Society of Petroleum Engineers, and recently, I think the HOD even won an international award. I mean, I know we are doing very well. So if I'm going to talk about petroleum engineering, I will say that petroleum engineering in Nigeria are doing very well, because we've had the opportunity to practice multiple times. So we are better at it. So that's why it was easy to also get a company that does some instrumentation for oil companies to put this equipment together. Because I also got asked that question recently, that where did I find, it was somewhere in Port Harcourt. They do instrumentations for oil companies. So I showed them my little design and they were able to do it. So yes, I feel we have, I would rate the engineering capabilities in the country very high for petroleum engineering. You know. I don't want to generalize, but I believe it's the same for, I believe it's the same. It's just that at times I feel bad that we have so much engineers. That's why I said we should do that activity where we should think about a particular product that we need to give to our students, a particular problem we need our students to solve. Even here in the university, at times the light goes off, and we've been talking about different forms of energy, green energy, all sorts. Can't we give our students those things to do? All these waste that is going away, can't we turn it to biomass and tell them, okay, we are using biomass, or we are using green energy to power this particular department? I don't know. I just feel it's something we should think of. Let's think of something to solve here in UNIPORT in terms of power, electricity. Then from there we can now scale it up and start sharing with other people.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ibrahim, your question.
Hello, Dr. Toyin. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ibrahim.
Yeah, good afternoon. You really tried. It was a very beautiful and a nice project. Because I just want to, say something that will support what the previous Mr. Dilo was said. Probably, most of these technicians we use, I believe University of Harcourt has students that are in different departments that will have been employed or deployed to do all these things. Since you have said probably you believe in engineering generally in Nigeria, I think it has to be brought down to the university in subsequent projects that anybody will be doing. I think it is encouraging to probably involve every department, probably to source for these technicians from the student among the school environment, so that even this project, the knowledge of the project will be distributed and be known by even the students in the university. That is my contribution.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a question asking if all presentations and recordings will be shared. So, sir.
Yes, we will share the presentations to all registered participants for the workshop, as well as certificates will be issued. And we will also request you to send your feedback. That is the workshop evaluation through the link that will be provided to you. Thank you.
Fantastic work. When she said petroleum engineering is doing quite well at University of Port Harcourt, she wasn't just saying that for the sake of praising them. Years ago, I took a tally of professors of petroleum engineering in the country. I don't know how many they are now, but there were 6 at the time years ago. And I noticed that 4, 6 in the entire country. I noticed that 4 out of the 6 were in University of Port Harcourt. So actually, this is a place where if you're talking of petroleum engineering, it's the mecca of petroleum engineering studies in Africa. So she wasn't just saying that, but I think they're doing quite well. And we need to thank the companies like Total and other groups that have actually supported them, because without company support, I think this would have been quite difficult for a university in which the research and development office, and I'm not even sure they have a budget, which you can just say that this is the budget for R&D. I'm not even sure they have that. So I just wanted to make that comment clear. Thank you.
So much. So once again, please let's put our hands together for Dr. Toyin Odutola. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm always very appreciative of women in science. And right? Thank you. Thank you so much. We have gradually come to the end of today's session. But remember, it's a 5-day-long workshop, so we have just started. We are gradually climaxing, getting to the peak of this workshop. And I'm very sure that tomorrow,